we have to teach you guys to look at your dog honestly and assess who they are in that moment, what's accomplishable, what's not, like how it's going to go. And it's also not necessary for you to have the plan that you planned on being the one that you actually execute. Because I'm telling you, you got to have a bunch of them. Like what you think is going to happen and what actually does happen, you have to be ready to modify this on the fly. And if you're not, you're just rehearsing things that you don't want to do. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Dog Sense. I'm your host, Kathy Santo, and I'm here with my co-host, Sarah. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, guys. All right. So I feel like I say this in every episode, but another really popular topic that we get all the time from students.
And you know what? This popular topic is even more popular now because people are out and about with their dogs. And we had a lot of time where we weren't really socializing. But now that we are, and we are in contact with people, our dogs are in contact with them too. And their skills with greeting may have slid a little bit, or maybe they never had skills. So jumping on people and greeting people is a really big topic.
Mm-hmm. And it's always, and whether it's in your home, which is, again, there's practice the greetings in home, or just out on a walk and stuff, we're hearing the same thing, right? Their puppy or dog is just so excited. They want to go say hello to the person. They're jumping up on them, and whatever, they can't get the behavior to stop. They don't know how to, first of all, teach the puppy how the greeting should look like and how to kind of tamp down how excited the dog is.
And I think that people make the mistake of letting it happen because the puppy is small and they're so cute, right? And they're just at your ankle. Like, why is that bad? But unless you have a Chihuahua, that little ankle biter is going to turn into a bigger dog. And that jump and that greeting is going to feel like a tackle. And by the time you're over it, you really need to understand that the reason it keeps happening, or it happened like this in the first place, is because you taught the dog it was something they would be rewarded from or for, right? It was not something from day one that you discouraged. And so, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. If you want that dog to jump on you, just be prepared for the times where you didn't want it to happen, and they're going to do it anyway. So our best advice is to stop this, whether it's day one because you have a new puppy, or day one when you have a new rescue dog or an adult dog that you're bringing into the household. You need to set these rules straight away. And that way you're not going to have to be training this a few months from now.
Yep. And it's not only just you, because I've had clients where the puppy would never jump on them to say hello. They were so good about making sure they didn't reward that behavior. But with strangers, it's a lot tougher when your puppy goes to say hello to a new person, that to not jump on them.
That's because people are saboteurs. And maybe they don't know you're in training, or maybe the worst thing they say is, "Oh, I don't mind." No, I mind. I'm putting all this time and effort and money into training my dog. Could you please not undo it? Or, Sarah, the other thing, people sometimes are embarrassed.
Yeah.
They don't want to train their dog in front of somebody. They don't want to be that guy who says, "Well, you don't let my dog jump on you." You don't, it's hard. Oh. And if you know you can't speak up for your dog in your dog's training, then maybe you don't let the encounter happen. So let's talk about what it looks like, which pretty much it looks like your dog is putting their body on other people without permission.
From paws up.
To the house, when they walk into your yard, when you're on a walk, all of it. So that's the behavior that we're targeting.
Yeah. And also, so this is going to be different than 20 feet away from the person, your dog starts barking, lunging, and jumping, right? We're not talking about that. That's going to be a different podcast topic. We're talking about once they get to the person, they do the initial greeting and they're jumping up on them.
And it's a good point that if somebody is approaching you, they're like, "Oh, hey, Sarah, how you doing?" They're walking and your dog starts amping.
Yep.
See, that person is never going to make it to me. If I have a dog in training, I'm like, "You need to stop right now. You stand where you are." Or if you don't have that kind of control over people, which it would be nice if we did, you're going to head the other way or get in front of the dog. I literally am not going to stand there and let it happen. I'm not going to be like a jackass in a hailstorm going, "All right, let it happen." Right? I'm going to U-turn into the dog or go the other way as I'm explaining over my shoulder. I'm looking at my dog's jumping and I can see this is not going to be a good situation right now. I'm not avoiding this, and that's my solution.
Right.
But it's the management that I use when I'm in process of training something. Think of it like training wheels on a bicycle, right? They're going to leave eventually. But my training wheels for a dog who's very jumpy is that I'm going to institute a no contact policy if I see that my dog is definitely going to blow up and not be able to manage themselves.
Mm-hmm. When you are practicing the greeting, what are kind of your top tips for how to teach the dog to keep all four paws on the ground and to not jump up?
So we divide this into management and training. There's two separate topics. So the management is what we always like to say, which is you're going to prevent rehearsal of the behavior that you don't want to have happen anymore. So think of it as rehab. They are a jumpaholic, and any good rehab, the first tenet is you can't do what got you into rehab in the first place. So we're not going to allow jumping at all. And it's got to be 100%. And just like a diet, man, like today is day one. I'm not going to have any sugar. And then if tomorrow you have sugar, you're like, okay, well, the next day is day one. And day one always sucks. So be very, very motivated to not let the jumping happen. And that comes in a lot of different management forms. The first one could be what we like to call stand on the dog. And don't be alarmed. We're not actually standing on the dog. We're holding the leash handle in one hand, and we're putting our foot on the leash a few inches from the dog's collar. Therefore, if they attempt to jump and you didn't notice it, your foot noticed it, and the dog doesn't get rewarded. It also is a great opportunity for you at that moment to say, good dog, what a good job, and maybe feed him a high value treat and teach him that 4 on the floor earns him way more than when he's having 2 on somebody else's body. The other thing is we're just going to assess risk. And in this case, risk means the risk of your dog wanting to jump on that person. So if I'm going for a walk and I have the terrifying experience of a bunch of kids running towards my dog going, I want to pet the puppy. The risk assessment right there is we're not doing this. And I am scooping up the dog, or I'm going behind a tree, or I'm body blocking the dog and feeding them so it does not happen. Yeah. Should the children or people get close enough to me and they keep coming, I'm probably likely to say something like, he just threw up, or he just had diarrhea with worms, which makes everybody move far away from you quickly, because I'm all about saving the training and not having to train this longer than I have to.
Yep.
All right. So that's the management piece of it. Why don't you start out with our ideas for how to prevent it or how to correct it? Like, let's say it got ahead of somebody. Dog jumped on their friend. What do they do?
So first thing is try to communicate to the other person. Do not pet him, right? What the dog wants in that moment, the reward is they jump on them and they get petted.
Here's how we communicate that. Don't touch him. Don't touch him.
Yelling that at strangers in Home Depot. Yeah. Just don't pat him. Don't pat him.
He's got fleas. Don't touch him. But we get a little bit emotional.
Yeah. So really, very sternly, do not reward this behavior. We are trying to eliminate it. So the first thing is, but the reward is also in the jump, right? That's fun for them too. So that's where the Santo dog comes in. There's a few different ways that you can work it through. If you know the person, if it's a friend or your significant other or your kids or whatever are coming in the house, you can practice it. So sometimes for some dogs, if they jump up into your personal space, if you kind of shuffle into them a few steps, not saying anything, don't say no jump or down or anything like that, because those are different commands. But if you kind of get into their personal space, sometimes that's enough for the dog to kind of pause and hesitate for a second, be like, well, that was rude. And you can be like, well, yeah, that was rude when you jumped on me too, bro. And then you can also, but then in that moment, then let the dog make a decision. If the friend then goes to say hello again and the puppy's like, no, I didn't like that when you shuffled into me, mark and reward it, right? Reward them for making the right choice in that moment.
The reason the shuffling works is because dogs don't like you getting into their personal space, right? Normally when they jump on a person, the person will stand there or back up.
Yeah.
Right. So the dog says, I can move with my presence. I can move people. And it's kind of fun. That's why the shuffling really works.
But then there's usually labs. I'm calling you out, labs.
Bad boys.
A lot of times they will see that as an invitation for play, right? So again, miscommunication between the species, they'll then think you're playing with them. So for those dogs, we're going to then go into a different game, Velcro dog. So this is where you would do a collar grab, guide the dog back down to all 4 on the floor and kind of hold them there for a few seconds. Not mad, you're not angry, you're just simply communicating, I don't want you all the way up here. I'm going to grab your collar, hold you down, Velcro you to my leg, basically, right? Give them a couple seconds, wait for them to also settle down, then release the collar and let them make another choice, right? If they choose to jump up on you again, you're going to do the same thing again. Maybe hold the collar for a couple extra seconds. But if they choose not to jump on you, then again, mark and reward it. Teach them what you wanted them to do in that moment.
And it's really important about the neutrality of that. So if the dog is jumping, you're like, what are you doing? Come here. And you're grabbing the collar and you're plugging them into the ground. And again, I want to just stress that when we say put them on the ground, I want them standing. I don't want you to like smush them into the ground. But I say nothing. I'm like, collar. I may say, how rude. And then put them in the ground and attach to my leg. You could also do, oh my goodness, this is what I did with Indy. You win the prize. You win the prize of getting glued to my leg. Isn't this fun? Yeah. And Indy was like, you are very bizarre because I don't think this is fun. And that was a decision he made. Now, a couple little things about that. Number one, you have to have a collar grab exercise. You do not start collar grabbing your dog if they've not had it before with a correction. And that's something we teach in the school. Second, you also have to have a plan B. If you collar grab your dog and your dog's like, oh yeah, let's go, and he wants to get aggressive or mouthy, then that's something else that you have to handle separately from this. But those are our favorite ways to do it. I also want to say that people who knee their dog in the chest or
it's a little much.
And it's probably not going to work. You could hurt the dog. But also, like we said, the dogs who really like that body contact are going to say, yeah, let's go. That was good. Can we do it again? Ooh,
yeah, exactly.
A little over to the left.
It's unintentionally reinforcing, right? You're rewarding the behavior when this is not what you want to be doing.
Right. I also hear about people who, and I haven't heard this for a while, maybe it's gone out of fashion. They try to step on the dog's back feet. Like, first of all, while the dog's feet are up here.
Oh, I see. Okay.
They're trying to step on their toes. Okay. And what tends to happen is, well, you could break your dog's toe, but are you actually finding the toe? Like, how do you see it? And now we're saying more physical contact, which a dog likes. Like, don't do any of that stuff. Like, get off the internet. Stop doing that. Just listen to us. And if these things don't work, obviously find a trainer in your area, find somebody who you relate to and who has good functional experience. But for us, those two things, the collar grab back up and the shuffling in, are really our top two tricks.
Yeah. And then once you have some training on your dog too, right? We're past like just the crazy puppiness. We do a few games that we like to do a training game with them to, again, teach them what we want in that moment, build value for us versus the hello to the stranger. Because a lot of times it's just, there's too much value saying hello to the stranger and we need more value for us. So two of the big ones are, so when you walk up to the person, ask for a sit, right? Get some impulse control, get some kind of control position. Once they show you that they can do that, they've now earned the opportunity to go say hello to them, have them go say hello, and then immediately recall them back to you. You could be doing, a lot of times people do it to a hand target or something like that, but make it fun and then recall, or just do a name and run back to you, whatever you want. But just they go say hello really quick and they come sprinting back to you for a high value reward. Could be tug, could be some treats or food. And then the other one could also be, and again, this would be a little bit more advanced, but it could be, so you ask them to go ask them to go say hello, and then ask for a sit or a down, or ask for some other command once they are away from you and they're near the other person as well.
Yeah. And I think we have to teach you guys to look at your dog honestly and assess who they are in that moment, what's accomplishable, what's not, like how it's going to go. So if the game is we're going to ask for a sit, right, before we have somebody have an interaction with our dog, but the dog is dragging you to the point you're going to have your dog sit, like, I don't think that's going to work. Like, how about we just scrap that plan and work on walking maybe 5 feet towards the person with your dog paying attention to you and not pulling. Yep. And then that may be where you cut it for the day. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessary for you to achieve every single step of the plan. And it's also not necessary for you to have the plan that you planned on being the one that you actually execute. Because I'm telling you, you got to have a bunch of them. Like what you think is going to happen and what actually does happen, you have to be ready to modify this on the fly. And if you're not, you're just rehearsing things that you don't want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So anything else, Sarah? I think we covered it all.
Yeah, I think that covers it all for the jumping on people.
All right. So if you have any questions, you can email us info@kathysanto.com. Give us suggestions for episodes. You can put comments below. We love to hear your suggestions because we have a million things in our head. It's like walking through a giant library and there's books on the shelf that I've forgotten are even in there. So your questions will ping us and go, oh yeah, we have that in our heads. And then we will just spill all the details to you. All right, Sarah, anything else?
Nope, that's all.
All right, guys, get out there, train, modify behavior, manage, and it'll be great. We promise you. Life with dogs is the best. All right, we'll see you at the next episode. Take care.